The Galactic Council Hall was massive, filled with the most powerful alien leaders in the universe. Their robes shimmered with energy, their eyes glowing with intelligence far beyond human understanding. At least that's what they believed. At the very back of the hall, sitting quietly at a small table, was a human boy, barely 17. His name was Ryan Carter, and he was the smartest mind Earth had ever produced. But no one cared. The aliens laughed at him, their voices echoing through the chamber. A tall, blue-skinned Zithak ambassador shook his head. Humans should not be here. They are too young, too weak. A reptilian XLR general hissed, his scales shimmering under the lights. Why did we allow a child into this meeting? He is not worthy of our time. Ryan clenched his fists under the table. He had spent years perfecting his work, a device so powerful it could change the balance of the galaxy forever. But no one would listen. He took a deep breath and stood up. "I came here to help," he said, his voice calm but firm. "The galaxy is on the edge of war, and I have a solution." The laughter grew louder. One of the elders, an ancient being with golden eyes, smirked. "Oh, and what solution does a child have?" Ryan placed a small metallic cube on the table. "This." The room fell silent for a moment. The cube was tiny, barely the size of a hand. It didn't glow, it didn't hum, it didn't even look dangerous. The XLR general narrowed his eyes. "A toy." Ryan's lips curled into a dangerous smile. "No, a weapon." The room erupted in outrage. Aliens stood, shouting, demanding his removal. Ryan ignored them. He tapped the cube once. Instantly, the air around it shimmered. A deep, vibrating hum filled the hall. The walls shook slightly. Every piece of technology in the room glitched, flickering on and off. Some of the holographic screens exploded into static. The golden-eyed elder froze, his amusement gone. What is this?" Ryan tapped the cube again. The hum stopped. Everything returned to normal. The young human met the elder's gaze. That was 1% of its power. The room was now silent. No laughter, no mockery, just fear. Ryan exhaled slowly. "I call it the Omega Core, a device capable of shutting down every ship, every weapon, and every piece of technology in the galaxy. If I wanted, I could have ended this meeting in seconds." The Zithak ambassador staggered back, his blue skin turning pale. "That's impossible." Ryan tilted his head. "Is it?" The elder's golden eyes studied him carefully. For the first time, there was no arrogance in his voice, only concern. "Why?" the elder asked slowly. "Would a human create something like this?" Ryan's expression darkened. "Because I was tired of being ignored." The Galactic Council Hall remained silent, the weight of Ryan's words hanging in the air. The Omega Core sat on the table, motionless, yet every alien in the room stared at it like a ticking bomb. The XLR general, his reptilian scales twitching, finally spoke. "You expect us to believe that a mere human child built a device capable of disabling our entire fleet?" Ryan shrugged. "Believe whatever you want. Doesn't change the fact that it works." The elder with golden eyes leaned forward. "This is dangerous knowledge. You are young, human. You do not understand the consequences of what you've created." Ryan smirked. "Oh, I understand perfectly." A holographic screen flashed to life behind him, displaying footage from Earth's history, images of human wars, nuclear explosions, battlefields covered in smoke and fire. Ryan gestured to the screen. "Humans don't start wars, but when we are pushed, when we are ignored, we end them, permanently." The room tensed. Some aliens took a step back, as if realizing, for the first time, what humanity was truly capable of. The Zithak ambassador scoffed, though his voice wavered. "So, what do you want, boy? Fear? Power? A seat at the council?" Ryan shook his head. "I don't want power." He picked up the Omega core and rolled it between his fingers. I want respect. The golden-eyed elder narrowed his gaze. And if we refuse? Ryan's smile didn't fade, but his eyes darkened. You won't. With a flick of his wrist, he pressed a hidden command switch. Instantly, every light in the chamber flickered. The holograms glitched. The floating drones crashed to the floor, sparks flying from their circuits. Some of the council members gasped, clutching their translators as they failed. Panic spread like wildfire. The XLR general reached for his communicator, but it was dead. Ryan let them squirm for a few more seconds. Then he pressed the switch again. Everything returned to normal. Ryan placed the Omega core back on the table and leaned forward. This is me being nice. Imagine what happens if I'm not. The golden-eyed elder exhaled slowly. For the first time in galactic history, an alien leader looked at a human not with pity, but with fear. You, the elder said in a hushed voice, have just changed everything. Ryan leaned back in his chair. I know. Outside the chamber, the entire galaxy remained unaware of what had just happened. But soon, they would know, and they would never ignore a human mind again. The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, every major faction in the galaxy had heard the same terrifying truth. A human child had created the most powerful weapon in history. Leaders of empires, warlords of distant star systems, and secret intelligence agencies all received the same encrypted report. The Omega core wasn't just a weapon. It was a tool that could render their fleets useless before a single shot was fired. The XLR warlords held an emergency meeting. The ZVAC High Council shut down all human-related research. The Veiled Dominion, masters of cyber warfare, tried hacking into Earth's databases, but their systems crashed instantly, a warning left behind in human code. Don't even try. On distant planets, civilians whispered rumors. Could the humans be planning to take over the galaxy? Were they already unstoppable? For the first time in history, the entire galactic order was uncertain. Deep inside a hidden war chamber on Earth, Ryan Carter stood in front of a massive holographic display. His invention had done exactly what he wanted. The galaxy wasn't laughing anymore. Behind him, a team of high-ranking Earth officials, military leaders, and intelligence officers watched in silence. One of the generals, a hardened man with silver hair, finally spoke. You realize what you've done, son. Ryan didn't look away from the screen. I made them listen. The general exhaled. You also made them scared. Scared people do stupid things. Ryan turned, his young face calm. Then let's make sure their fear keeps them from being stupid. The room fell silent again. No one could deny the truth. For the first time ever, humanity wasn't the weakest species in the galaxy. They were the most feared. The attack came at midnight. Ryan Carter sat in his secured underground lab, staring at the glowing interface of the Omega core. Data streamed across the screen. Transmissions from different factions, intercepted communications, desperate attempts to understand his invention. They were afraid. But fear had a way of turning into violence. A sharp beeping sound echoed through the room. Ryan's eye assistant, Echo 9, flickered to life. Ryan, the synthetic voice said, calm but urgent. Unidentified life forms detected. Hostile intent confirmed. Ryan's heart skipped a beat. Before he could react, the lights cut out. A moment later, red emergency lights flickered to life, bathing the lab in an eerie glow. Ryan stood quickly, his mind racing. He had expected the galaxy to take him seriously. He hadn't expected them to come for him this soon. A loud crash echoed from the upper floors. Heavy footsteps. Multiple intruders. Ryan reached under his desk, grabbing a small wristband, his personal security override. With a quick tap, the room sealed shut, thick blast doors locking into place. Echo 9's voice remained steady. 3 XLR assassins, 1 ZVAC operative. They are armed. Ryan exhaled slowly. The XLR were elite killers, their reptilian reflexes twice as fast as any human. The HFY were master infiltrators, their technology capable of bypassing most human security systems. But they weren't dealing with most humans. Ryan tapped his wristband again. Deploy countermeasures. Instantly, the lab came to life. Automated turrets descended from the ceiling, laser sights locking onto the intruders as they breached the outer hallway. The air filled with a high-pitched hum as an electromagnetic pulse fried their cloaking devices. The assassins hesitated, and that was their mistake. The turrets opened fire. Blazing blue energy bolts tore through the air, striking one of the HFY directly in the chest. He screamed before collapsing. The other two dove for cover, returning fire, but Ryan had designed this lab for war. The walls absorbed their plasma shots like harmless rain. The HFY operative tried hacking the system, only to find his own neural implants frying. He collapsed to the floor, convulsing. The last HFY hissed in rage. He lunged forward, dodging turret fire with inhuman speed. He almost reached the blast door. Ryan tapped his wristband one last time. The floor opened beneath the assassin. A trapdoor. A direct drop to the reinforced containment chamber below. Ryan walked to the edge of the opening, peering down at the captured HFY. Nice try. The reptilian growled, his slitted eyes burning with hatred. The galaxy will not let you live, human. Ryan smirked. Then they'll have to do better than this. He turned away, tapping his wristband again. The trapdoor sealed shut, locking the assassin away. Echo 9's voice returned. Threat neutralized. Shall I notify Earth's Defense Council? Ryan exhaled, sitting back down at his desk. His hands trembled slightly, but he pushed the fear aside. No, he said. I want the galaxy to know exactly what happened here. He pulled up a secure transmission and sent a message, one that would be heard by every major faction. If you come for me again, I won't just defend myself. I will retaliate. The warning was clear. The next attack wouldn't end in capture. It would end in war. The attack on Ryan Carter's lab should have been a secret mission, buried in silence. But within hours, the entire galaxy knew how badly it had failed. Every major faction received the same uncoded transmission. You sent assassins. I sent them back in pieces. Try again, and I'll make sure your entire fleet never flies again. Attached was video proof. Security footage of the HFY and HFY agents being systematically eliminated. The final clip showed the last assassin in Ryan's containment chamber, still snarling in defeat. The message was clear. Ryan Carter wasn't just dangerous. He was untouchable. On that HFY homeworld, the Supreme Warlord slammed his clawed fist on the war table, his sharp teeth bared in rage. He is only a child, he hissed. We should have crushed him. The HFY diplomat, his long, insectoid fingers twitching, clicked his mandibles. And yet, your elite warriors failed. Your pride blinds you. The council chamber fell silent. For the first time, the great galactic empires were not arguing over how to conquer humanity. They were arguing over how to survive. The golden-eyed elder from the Galactic Council finally spoke. His voice was calm, but his words were like ice. Ryan Carter is not a mistake, he said. He is a sign. His golden eyes glowed slightly. Humanity has been ignored for too long. Now we face the consequences. The room was filled with hardened warlords, ruthless diplomats, and ancient rulers. Yet at this moment, they all felt something rare. Fear. Meanwhile, on Earth, Ryan stood in a high-security command room, surrounded by top military officials. His fingers tapped against the Omega core, the device glowing softly under his touch. The Earth's defense commander crossed his arms. They won't stop, Ryan. You embarrassed them. They'll strike again, but harder. Ryan smirked. Let them. The commander sighed. We can't just sit here waiting for the next attack. We need to show them that Earth is not to be threatened. Ryan nodded. Then we send a message. He turned to his console and began inputting commands into the Omega Core. Across the galaxy, in distant star systems, alien fleets sat in formation, armies prepared for war. But at that moment, something impossible happened. Their ships shut down. One by one, the lights in their massive warships flickered out. Entire battleships went silent, their engines frozen, their systems completely dead. Panic erupted across the galactic military channels. And then, just as suddenly as it started, the systems came back online. Ryan leaned back, satisfied. Now they know. If I wanted, I could have left them frozen forever. He sent one final transmission to the Galactic Council. Next time, I won't turn your fleets back on. Then he shut off the Omega Core. The message was delivered, and the galaxy trembled. Panic spread across the galaxy like a wildfire with no end. Admirals screamed at their engineers. Generals accused their spies of failing to predict this disaster. Some factions even suspected each other. Surely, no single human could do this. Surely, this had to be some elaborate trick. But it wasn't. Ryan Carter had shut down entire battle fleets in seconds. And then, with terrifying confidence, he had turned them back on, as if to remind the galaxy how completely powerless they were. The Galactic Council convened in a closed session. The greatest minds of every major species gathered in the vast circular chamber, their voices filled with rage and fear. He has control over our fleets. A Cellary warlord spat. We should burn Earth to ash before he does worse, and risk him shutting down every single one of our weapons before we fire. A Veil Dominion strategist countered. Do you wish to see your own fleets left helpless in space? The room fell into uneasy silence, as if that intelligence officer, her glowing blue eyes narrowed, finally spoke. This boy is a danger to all of us. Whether we like it or not, Earth now holds the fate of the galaxy. She looked around. We have two choices. The council members leaned in. We can attempt another strike, a full-scale assault, overwhelming Earth before the child can react. Murmurs of agreement spread like ripples in water. Yes, a grand assault could work. Surely, the humans weren't strong enough to fight everyone at once. The officer continued. Or, she let the word hang in the air. We negotiate. A deep silence settled over the chamber. Negotiate. With a human child. The very idea was insulting. And yet, every single one of them had seen the impossible happen. The XLR assassins had failed. The most advanced war fleets had been shut down instantly, and Ryan Carter's message had been clear. Next time, he wouldn't turn their ships back on. The elder from the Galactic Council finally rose to speak, his golden eyes calm, yet unreadable. Send a message to Earth. The room tensed. His next words changed history. Request a meeting with Ryan Carter. Back on Earth, Ryan sat in his lab, watching transmissions flood in from every major faction. Most were threats, warnings, or desperate attempts at hacking his systems. None succeeded. Then, a single message arrived. Official Galactic Council transmission, requesting diplomatic negotiations. Ryan smiled to himself. He had forced the galaxy to listen. And now, they were coming to him. The Galactic Council's decision was unprecedented. Never before had the most powerful factions bowed their heads to a single human, let alone a child. But Ryan Carter wasn't just any human. He had rewritten the rules of war in a single moment. And now, the most feared leaders in the universe were preparing to meet him on Earth. The diplomatic fleet arrived in Earth's orbit under heavy escort, watched by thousands of human warships. Normally, these alien vessels would have dwarfed anything Earth had, but after Ryan's demonstration, they knew better than to show arrogance. They were escorted down to a secured Earth base, deep in the heart of a military compound. The alien delegates, warlords, admirals, and high-ranking officials walked through the halls, uneasy, nervous. They had come to negotiate, but they all knew the truth. They were here to beg. Ryan Carter sat at the far end of the meeting chamber, his omega core glowing softly beside him. He looked calm, almost bored, as the most powerful beings in the galaxy took their seats across from him. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the Cell-Airy warlord stood, his reptilian eyes locked on Ryan. "You are an abomination," he growled. "A human should not have this power." Ryan tilted his head. "And yet, here you are, talking to me, asking for peace." The warlord clenched his fists but said nothing. The Zithak intelligence officer leaned forward, her voice smooth but tense. "We must discuss limits to your technology. The balance of the galaxy has been—" Ryan cut her off with a single gesture. The lights in the room flickered. The Omega Core pulsed. At that moment, every alien delegate felt their personal devices shut off. The implants in their bodies, their translators, their weapons, everything stopped working for a full 5 seconds. Then, just as suddenly, it all came back. The meaning was clear. Ryan Carter was the balance of the galaxy now. He leaned forward, his golden brown eyes unreadable. "You don't get to tell me what's allowed," he said softly. "You came here because you're afraid. You came here because you finally understand. Humanity is not weak." Silence. The alien leaders, the most feared minds in the universe, sat frozen, trapped in the presence of a boy who had already won. Ryan smiled. "So let's talk about the future." The warlords listened, because they had no choice. The meeting lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of alien warlords and high-ranking officials arguing, demanding, and threatening, only to be shut down every single time. Ryan Carter sat at the head of the room, listening to them speak as if their words mattered. But deep down, they all knew the truth. They were not in control anymore. The galaxy had changed, and Ryan was the reason why. By the end of the negotiations, the terms were clear. No species would ever again threaten Earth. Any act of war against humanity would result in instant retaliation, one that no fleet could resist. Humanity would not expand by force, but neither would they be denied access to the stars. Any attempt to block Earth's growth would be seen as an act of war. The Omega Core remained under Ryan's control. No species could demand access to its secrets. The galactic factions had 2 choices: accept it or risk extinction. The alien leaders left Earth that day without victory, without control, and without the power they once held over humanity. They had thought Earth was a backwater world, a planet of weak creatures meant to serve, to be ignored, to be conquered. But now, the galaxy knew the truth. The most dangerous mind in the universe was human. And he was just getting started. Decades later, historians would call this moment the Silent War's end. A war that was won not through battles, but through one human's genius. And in the years that followed, when the universe spoke of Earth, they spoke with fear. Because somewhere, deep within human space, Ryan Carter still watched. Still waiting. Still ready. Just in case the galaxy forgot who was in charge.